In this video, we're going to focus on the drill down stack bar. And you can see here, the moment we click on one specific item, and if you click on this, it will only show you this, but as well, here we have another one. You can find here the iced tea data with all the matching countries that are producing or selling iced tea. You can see here the tea leaves, etc., etc. So this is quite nice. And you will see that this reset button is built in a different way than in one of my other videos. And the reason why this for stack bar must be done, because if you don't do it the way I'm doing it, you will experience an error eventually. So let's start to check how to do this right now. In this video, we'll focus on the drill down stack bar chart in Chartjs. And this question came specifically from one of our viewers. So if you go to this video here, where you can find the clickable bar chart quiz link in Chartjs, here in this video, here below, Padmaja Ashok Kumar asked the following question. Can you please explain drill down chart for stack bar charts? So first of all, thank you to Padmaja for asking this specific question. And yes, let's start to explore. Alright. So with this, we'll be needing a few items, and to save time, I have a huge chunk of data already done here. As you can see, we'll be using this, and if you would like to use this part as well, I have it in the comment section below. I paste this entire code here so you can copy paste that as well to use. Alright, so now let's start to work on creating the chart. The first thing what I want to do here is I want to go to chartjs3.com, getting started. And in here, in the getting started section, we're going to copy the default code. Copy all of this code. And once you copy this code, make sure, if you want to understand what it is, watch this video here that explains how the JavaScript is built. However, once we have this, we're going to paste this in here. And then I'm going to just cut out this title here, put it in here, and save that. So once I save this and refresh, you can see here we have a nice bar chart. Everything works fine. However, what we want to do is to create a stack bar chart, and what we want is all of this data that we copied here or that we have already that we will use. So I'm going to cut out this, and what I will do here is basically somewhere here, we can do it here above, paste it in. As you can see, these are just all constants with data in here, data 2, and then here we have the coffee data, here we have the tea data, and then you have the iced coffee. So basically this is a stacked bar chart with different data connected with each other. Alright, so it will not do anything as of now, but what we want to do here is to copy the default code here. Let's copy that and put it in the data set here. So I'm going to remove everything here. Just put in this, alright, and just remove this excess here. So we have exactly the same here now. If I refresh now, we have these data sets here. It's two data sets. One with the export data, and the other one is related to cold drinks data. Alright, so I just made up something, and of course you can make something for yourself that's more suitable, but it's just for demo purpose only. Alright, so what we have to do now is to convert our current chart into a stack bar chart. So in here, how to do that? Quite straightforward here. And then we say here stacked. And then we say here true. Oh, sorry, that is just a boolean, so no need for quotation. Comma. And here in the Y, you can put in here comma, and then we say stacked. And we say here true. Once we did that, save that, refresh, we have now a stack bar chart. And now what we need to do is to make this clickable. Basically, we want to make it clickable. And then afterwards, we're going to use a button to reset it. But the button for reset will be different than if you've seen my other video, where I also have like links in the bar chart. And this is very important because you will get an error if you will not follow what I'm going to do right now here. Alright, so the first thing what we're going to do here first is convert this. I want to break this down into two parts. And the reason I'm doing that is I want that the canvas or JavaScript is able to identify that we click on here, that it is a click. This is very important because eventually we need to identify where exactly we click. Are we clicking on this bar, this bar, this bar, or that bar? So it could be one or the other. and it needs to identify where, because the moment we click on this, for example here, the cold drinks data, or this blue one, we will get different data. And the moment we click on this one, we should get another data showing in the next chart. Alright, so this is what we're going to do now here. So first of all, let's break it down, and always say here, we create here let. And the reason we're creating here let is we'll be using this variable more often. So it would change the value, so it's not a constant data, it's just a let value right now. Say equals this, alright, and then basically this is the CTX here. So we're going to put in here CTX, and this will be let as well, because we'll be using this later on as well. Alright, so once we have this, we've converted everything, and if we refresh, nothing really changes here. Alright, so the next thing what we need to do here is basically creating the click handler here to identify the click, but also specifically identify where exactly on the segment we're selecting. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to give it a function, and maybe you've heard of this function before in one of my other demos. It's a click handler. And this click handler, and if you're wondering what is a handler is someone who is doing or handling a specific task, or doing a specific task. Well, in this case, the click handler does the following task. We will have a click. We're going to give this a click parameter. But basically what we want to do with the click handler, understand where we click on the canvas. And if we click here, show the matching value of that. If we click on that, show the matching value of the red. Click here, show matching value, etc., etc. So you get my point here. So then, in here, we create a constant, and this constant is the points, or basically the data point where we select. What we do here is basically making sure that we create a, that we are able to identify where exactly we're clicking. And if you want to know what we're really doing here, is you can really search it in here in the developers API. Then you scroll down here. Let's see here, it should be, this is the one we need. You get the get elements at event for mode. And here we have the mode, the options, and the final use, final position. Basically, this is the entire code we can copy here. I'm just going to copy that one straightforward, and I'll explain as well. So basically here we have the point, and we say here my chart, and my chart stands for this one here, or basically this part here now, because this here is in here. Alright, then we get the elements at event for mode, and then here this EVT stands for event. But basically this is the parameter, and this is the parameter here. And later on we will assign a value to the parameter, which will be a click. So on click, that's basically what it does. So on click, it will figure out on the nearest, and then it says intersect, which is the mode. And remember the mode, we said mode on true, with intersect equals true, and then nearest. So basically intersect would be like a tooltip. If we intersect on this specific blue bar, intersect means cross. So if we cross with our mouse on this blue bar, show tooltip. That's right now what's happening. But what we want to do now is when we click, when we cross on the blue bar and we click on the blue bar, that is the cross or intersection. At that moment, if we intersect, trigger whatever we want to trigger, which would be showing the new values. Alright? Very important here. So we have this nearest, we will understand where it is, and the intersect true, this as well, true. Alright. So once we have this, we have to continue on with an if statement. And we say if, and we say your points dot length. And the reason we're doing this is there's only a length of basically one index. But there's only one index, or index number 0, which is one element. But it only happens the case if we click on this here, but not here. So we want to make sure that if we click on the white item or the white space, there should be nothing showing. There's no index. So that's why this validates. If we click on the intersected bar segment, and there's a length, at that very moment we want to do something here. And when we say here constant, then we say here first point equals points 0. Basically, there's only one index or one element, so it's index 0 by default. So once we have that, the next one will be constant. Then we say label check And basically here, oh well, we can do the label check, or it doesn't. Well, I guess here label check is not even necessary. This is optional. But what we really want to do here is what's going on here. So what if we just delete this? I realize that this is probably some of my old codes that we don't need. I'm just going to put in here a console log, so we just can check what's going on here. So if I open up here and see, if we click on it, do we see anything? Not yet. Oh, of course not. The reason why we didn't see anything is we didn't activate this click parameter here. So we should basically activate this. We could activate this quickly by just saying here on the CTX, and then we say here on click, because we want to have the click event equals trigger this specific function. Once we did that, there we are. Now let's see if we have anything. As you can see here now, it's starting to identify already the item that we need. Basically the point, first point you can see here, but if we click on here, you can see console log doesn't show anything. If we click on here, we have this nice data point here, index 1. It shows all the values here. It understands where we are locating. We are locating or clicking on the second data set, and then it says index number 1. It understands as well. So index 1 or element, the second element of the second data set. Alright, so this is quite nice. So it already validates our stack bar chart. It can also understand where exactly we're clicking. Alright, so once we have this, all we have to do now is very straightforward. It's basically create an if statement and show the value based on whatever we click on here. So what I want to do here is very simple. We can copy this again. What I will do here now is, you can see here elements. So we go in here, and then we say here, all we need to go here is basically the elements, or not even in the elements. You can go here, we say index 1, or data set index 1, and then we also have the index 1. So if I just copy this, so I say here dot, and then here, and we get the index with small letters. We save that. Now we refresh this again, and if I click on this, you can see here 1 0, which is correct. We have here the index, and this is the data set index. We have the next one 0 0. This one is 0 1, which is correct because the stack bar on top of it is the index 1. And this is 1 1 because this is index 1 and the second element, which is index 1 as well, of the item. Alright, so we have this now here, and don't get confused too much by this. So now what we're going to do is basically create an if statement to show certain values if a certain condition equals true. And our condition here is the following. So we say here, this. We're going to put in here, enter, and we say here if, and all we want to do here is the following. We're going to say here the following, because we're going to put in here two conditions in one. Say if first point dot, then we can say here data index equals strict 0, which would mean it will be this one or that one. In that case, what we want to do more, and first point dot index equals strict 0, meaning that we now select only this one. This is the one we want to pinpoint, not this one, because you can see 0 and 1. Alright, so we want to have this. If that is the case, and we have here another and, because what we want to do here, something else, and, or I guess the label check here, this is probably the reason why I had the label check on here as well, was to confirm if we have the matching labels. Well, I'm going to show you later on. What we can do, I'll just put it in here. Say label check. Well, or we do it later. I'll just leave this for now. We just keep that open, so we have that later on here. All right. So in here, what we want to do here as well, we say my chart. So we get the my chart config dot data equals coffee. And basically, what we're doing here now is, if we select on this red one here, This is coffee, and I'm referring here to this one. It should be the brown reddish color, which is the coffee beans. So we had the coffee beans and the tea leaves, and we had here, the other was the cold drinks, and the cold drinks covered different items as well. Alright, so you can see here coffee, but we want these two here, coffee bean and tea leaves. So cold drink related to coffee, cold drinks, I guess iced coffee, I had something. And then we have here the tea leaves, which was the iced tea topics. Alright, so once we have this one here, we save that. So if I click on this now, we should have something. Of course it doesn't work yet, sorry. The reason why it doesn't work here is just straightforward. We didn't do the update. So we say this here, and if this is the case, at that moment, we will say update the chart here. So we can say my chart dot update. And all we do here, we update this, refresh, and now we click on it. There we are. Alright. So once we have this, but if I click here, you can see nothing happens. Alright. So what we can do now is exactly the same for the others. So I'm going to do a semicolon here. Alright. So just to make this clear, get coffee data. So then what we can do here is basically the tea data. Sorry, that's what I have. So that's the right term for tea. So you can say here tea. Am I correct here? This is the tea data or constant. So we're going to grab that one. But this one will be only if the data set is still 0, which is correct, but the bar should be green one, which is 0, 1. Alright. Put in 1, save that, and now we have this one. So if I click on that, alright. But you can see here we have a tiny issue here. Later on I will pinpoint that one. That was regarding to the labels. But if I click on that here, alright, that works nice. So we have this here, but we have here some weird interaction, but fair enough. So you already figured out how we do the others for the stacked bar chart. Very straightforward here. We can say here now, I guess this is ice, this should be get tea. This will be iced coffee. And iced coffee is this item here, which is the other item when you select, if I refresh here, the blue item here. So this is the coffee related drink. So it's coffee, beans, and then iced coffee, I guess. That's something like that. Of course, you can make your own colors. So we just put in here, and then we say here, coffee. Alright. And then, of course, this should be 0. Yeah, so we can see here, look at this. 1, 0. Alright. Index 1, or data set 1, but index 0. So for the iced tea, it is 1, 1. So we copy that, put it in there, and you have here iced tea, and iced tea is this part. So if I save this now, we have this, we can click here, there we are, we show this, but then what is going on is we have some parts that's no good, of course. And if you click on that, I was expecting that one to work. Alright, so let me see if the data set is correct here. Yes. We click on that. What am I missing? Oh, alright, sorry, you can see here. Make sure that this is 1. Alright, there we are. But you can see here, of course, we have this here, and I don't want this. So to do this, we're going to use the labels trick here. So that's basically the trick that I had in mind here. Alright, so what are we going to do here? So basically, we can validate. So once we select on a certain item here, we're going to work with the labels. And the labels will help us check if something is correct or not. And what I'm going to do here is console.log. And in here, we can say here the following. We're going to grab the label. So if we get the first point, let's comment this out all, refresh, and select something. You'll see we probably get certain information in here. Does it get something? Yes. Do we see the labels? Not yet. Alright. So what I'm going to do is we're going to grab the labels here. Well, how we can do it even, that would make far more sense, sorry, is the following. We're going to get the label of the data constant here, basically what is active currently in the chart here. So right now, by default, it is this here. we're going to get here this label here that will help us confirm a certain value, if this is true, yes or no. Because this is a starting point here, as you can see. We start with this, and then if you select here, and afterwards it starts to show more and more. And with this, we can play around as well. So this will be our trick here. So we're going to say here the following. We're going to create here my chart. And then we're going to grab it. So what we do is go to the chart. Then we say here config. And after we have that, how we go from config, we go to the data. And from data, we go to, where are we here? Data to data sets. And what we want is just data set 0. So what happens is basically we're going here to the data set 0. And then what we want is the label. Whatever we get is the data set of 0, the first data set here, which will be always export data when we start with. This is our starting point. So this is very important. So we get this for your data. And if you save this, refresh, you can see now here we get export data. Now when you click on it, we get coffee data, iced coffee data, etc., etc. It moves. What we want to do is, because the export data is always the default, we're going to use that as our way to check if we have moved away from it. So if we moved away from it, we want to block this effect here. Because what we can do is we can just compare this. We say, wait a minute, please check here if the labels is equal to the export data. Or what was that? The export, the tea export, the coffee bean export. No, sorry, not this one. This one here, the export data by default. Because right now you can see here this is coffee bean export, which means that it changes. So we can compare this, and if it is not equal to the default, which is export data, and we click on this, what we want to do then, in that case, we want to block this effect here, because now we are just keep on clicking, but we get always a different one, and we never get back the export data. So this is very important to remember, and this is a way to check. Alright, so to do this, same story here, I'm going to create here. This is why I had this one here as well. Well, first of all, let's put in here a constant. We say here, this will be the label checker equals this. Alright. So we say here the following. This will be the following here. Then we say here, we're going to make a AND condition. Label check. So basically in here, we say the label checker. If the label checker equals strict, what exactly? Export data. If this is true, then we want to change it. If it's not true, we don't do anything. Basically, our if statement will not trigger at all. So this is very straightforward, and this will block the issue that we had. So we do it here, we do the same here, because they're all exactly identical. So if I save this now, refresh, now click, now if I click here, alright, nothing happens. So what I want to do now is I want to reset the button here. Well, this reset here will be different than a standard update. If you saw my other video, I use an update, but an update is not suitable with a stack bar chart. And the reason why, the stack bar chart gives you an error after 4 or 5 tries. Why that happens, I do not know. I cannot explain that bug or that error. So what we have to do is basically we have to destroy the chart and re-render the chart again. So that's what we're going to do as a final part here. Just put in here a button. We're going to put in here. And we say here button. And here we say on click equals reset chart. And it's not really a reset, it's basically we're destroying the chart or whatever we're doing. We make sure that, and then here this will be just reset. Basically going back to the standard point, but what we're doing behind the scene is destroying the chart. Alright, so we save this now. We have this button here, of course it doesn't do anything yet. Let's go down here now, and the final part here. So we say here function, reset chart, and then make sure we have these curly braces. And then what we're going to do here is the following. First of all, we say my chart dot destroy. So we're going to use the destroy API. If we do this, you'll see our chart being destroyed, completely gone, vanishes from here. Alright, so once we have done this, what we need to do is to redraw the chart, and that is why we can do here, very straightforward, our rendering. This is our render block here. But we will be doing something specific here as well. So we're going to put this in here, and once we did this, all we want to do here is the final item. Alright, here this config, if I save this right now and do this, you can see here, and I select that, and I now do reset. Alright, can I access my chart before initialization? Of course, we don't have to do this, we can do it like that. Alright, and now it works. But you can see here, if you reset it now, it doesn't work. What's going on here? I only have to refresh the item, and still it doesn't work. So what do we need to do here? Well, finally we need to use, because basically what happens here, it redraws the chart with the original data that we selected. So it doesn't redraw the chart based on the original, or based on the default mode. So what we're going to do is now we're going to select the default mode here, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to draw that specific data. Alright, so we say here, very straightforward, config dot data equals data. That is our data constant. Make sure you have a comma here, so then this will work. And if I save this now, refresh, and now we select this, reset, there we are. Reset, there we are. Reset, and if I keep on pressing it, you can see there's no bug as well, or no unexplainable errors that eventually appears. Because what happened is, to avoid that multiple updates, apparently Chartjs cannot handle multiple updates, but the moment you have too many updates, it creates an error where the chart completely blanks out. And this is basically the way how you create a stacked bar chart with these items using the destroy and re-rendering or rendering block here to redraw the chart. So if you enjoyed this video about stacked bar charts, I would highly recommend you to check out this specific video here, how you will create a pyramid chart in Chartjs here, which using these stacked bar charts or clicking on them will be very nice, because you can see here pyramid chart works completely different, where you have the y-axis, or sorry, the x-axis here. In both ways it's positive, and the it stacks on a way in a very interesting way, because both sides are considered positive, and with this you can play around. This is very uncommon in Chartjs, but understanding how you can do this together with the click function on stack bars or drill down bar chart can be probably a very interesting layer on layer chart. So I highly recommend to explore this video as well.